We are going to go ahead and just dive right into it. Looks like people are still trickling in, so we'll be working on intros in the beginning anyways.
Hey, what's up, Walter? What's up, Jamari? Sydney? How's it going?
Hello, we love it. We love it. All right.
Yeah.
So what we are here to talk about today, as you can see, is how micro actions come together and make macro change. Before we dive into that, though, we wanted to introduce ourselves, as every presentation must. So I'm Sonia, this is Amr. We both went to Northwestern. We majored in computer science, day in, day out together.
Spend a lot of time together.
We wanted to choose a picture to represent ourselves in high school. So obviously we jumped to Instagram, and we originally challenged each other to put up our very first Instagram post ever. But it turns out it was a little embarrassing. So we opted for top 5. And
as you can see, I was pretty popular in high school. I got about 17 likes on that Instagram post.
Yeah, you did really well. I was 5 more or so we're doing well here. But yeah, we just wanted to kick it off and introduce ourselves. We are co-founders of a company called GetChange, which ties into what we talk about here today. And we will give you a brief overview of our product at the very, very end. But we honestly just want to focus more about how to make a difference here in 2020 and how you all are actually poised to be the ones to kind of lead the way.
Exactly. And it's great to talk to you. We're very excited to do this. And the biggest thing is we want you to participate as much as possible. We're going to throw a lot of headlines at you, anything that's current, but it's hard for us to get to know everything that's going on. So we want to know what you're feeling, what you're seeing. So just drop it in the chat. We're going to keep monitoring it. I want to say hi to everyone who said hi. So this is great. I mean, really keep it up. We want you to participate. We talk to each other all the time. So if you don't, it's going to get a little bit awkward.
Definitely.
So yeah. Let's do it.
All right.
So first off, what is brand sentiment? So what is brand sentiment? That's how you feel about a brand. That's how we all collectively feel about a brand. And let's do it.
Yeah. So we're just going to go ahead and basically within this section, we want to go over a bunch of different brands and kind of get a pulse on how everyone's feeling. So this ties back to what Amr just said about we want to be as interactive as we possibly can, and we want to hear your opinion. So as like the first thing to kick us off, we're going to do this thing called In the News. So what that is we're going to talk about cool things that we've heard brands have been doing, and they're kind of unique, a different angle, a twist on things. And so our example is Chipotle goods. We love Chipotle. Used to eat that as a staple in college. And something that they're doing is they launched an apparel and accessories line where they dye the goods with the avocado pits. So all that extra guac that you're buying actually is going towards clothing dye, which we thought was a really interesting, an interesting thing for something like Chipotle to take on. And so, like we said, we want to hear what your brands of choice are and interesting things you've learned about them. So if you could just drop in the chat here about any brand that you've seen in the news recently and things that they have been doing, we can kind of just kick off the discussion from there.
Yeah, this is just an example. So if you know another brand that's doing something cool, last night I saw that Nike and Drake did something cool at the world headquarters. So I thought that was pretty cool for them, for that music video.
Yeah, totally.
Are there any other brands that anyone here has seen do something cool in the social impact space or whatever you are finding interesting?
Let's see.
Oh, it looks like it's in moderated.
Oh, okay.
Oh, gotcha.
So I know a brand that makes antibacterial phone cases lined with copper for COVID.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I would love to know the name of that brand. That's really, really interesting. During COVID, we are totally seeing brands repurpose their existing supply chains to make really helpful products for what is a very different world than 2019.
And that's actually the kind of phone case that I would want to get.
Oh, totally.
I just saw Zanaya say J. Cole and Puma. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty fresh. Puma is coming back. I mean, like, where did Puma go?
Wait, tell me more. What did J. Cole and Puma do?
I mean, they got a collab dropping with some shoes, some gear. I mean, yeah, like, I want to rep that.
Very, very cool. Oh, gosh.
Oh, wow. Fila, Sprites, car brands. There's a lot of cool stuff going on.
Mask companies doing copper line stitching. Very interesting.
It sounds like copper lining is like the new organic cotton. Like,
it does sound like that, yeah. I wonder if there was like some type of surplus that a lot of people have been experiencing with copper in particular.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know about that.
Lego recently made their bricks from plastic.
Oh, what?
That's That's incredible because Legos are, I mean, I loved Legos growing up, so I love to see that they're just kind of evolving with the times.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see these household brands take action to social impact and really figure out a way to be sustainable in the future. I mean, they weren't doing this 10 years ago. They probably weren't doing this 5 years ago, and it's great to see that they're doing that.
That's awesome. Let's see here. Oh, Aries is the one with the phone case. Thank you. I'm going to take a look at that later.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Adidas, Pila, mushrooms are packaging materials. Wow.
Wait, you can use mushrooms as packaging materials?
See, that's also great because you know how those like popcorn, the styrofoam popcorn?
Oh, yeah.
Drives me absolutely up the wall because that's so wasteful.
There's so many other ways to protect the goods.
Exactly.
Adidas is dropping their Lillard shoes to $61 for a 61-point game.
I saw that.
Oh, yep. He is on a tear. Can't wait to see what he does in the playoff game.
Nurses Keep Going is a new group that is sponsoring shoe donations for healthcare nurses. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
I've actually seen Allbirds do something similar where a lot of the frontline workers were getting shoes.
Yes, I did see that. It is cool to see. Starbucks did something similar where they were giving away free coffee and free baked goods to frontline workers.
I mean, it's great to see that they all stepped up during COVID-19. And honestly, hopefully everything that they're doing sticks in the future.
Totally. Bath Bomb brand, oh gosh, that uses recyclable plastic as packaging material. Oh wow, it's packaging material. So we're seeing a lot of packaging material, I guess, evolve with the times and become more sustainable. Yeah,
I mean, some of these bigger brands need to adapt with the recyclable materials. Like, if this is a thing, honestly, I'm learning a lot right now.
Oh, totally. This is amazing.
Other brands need to start doing this because this is not big enough.
Most definitely. I saw boba straws there, which is a massive one. That's really, really good. I want to see straws evolve in technology so that it doesn't just disintegrate in my drink.
Yeah, I mean,
I want it to be sustainable, and I know if we put the right minds to it, we can come up with a good straw.
Yeah, because right now, after a few sips, it just gets soggy. Mm-hmm. Someone actually just said seaweed plastic. I've actually tried the Whole Foods seaweed. I thought that was pretty good, but now seaweed plastic is definitely new.
Interesting.
I have to give that. Is that edible?
I'm not sure. We'll have to find out, I guess. Some more straws. Clothing design that stretches as a child grows. Oh, that's really fascinating. I personally have not had to clothe a child quite yet, but my parents definitely complained about how quickly we outgrew all of our clothing. So that's a really great sustainable design. We're not throwing away clothes or having to give them away so quickly. I love that.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was awesome. It was great to see what you're feeling about brands. And now let's talk about why we had emojis just pinned to the side of the chat.
Oh, totally. Thank you. I mean, keep dropping them in. Keep telling us. We're going to review more and just learn ourselves later, but we just kind of have to keep going with the time.
Yeah. So this is these are the emojis. We're going to have this icebreaker where we're going to throw a lot of different brands at you. We just want to know what you're feeling and what these brands mean to you. So, I mean, if you can capture an emoji, that's awesome. Feel free to write a couple words as you're doing here, but we just want to know what you're thinking.
Exactly. And at the top, like I mentioned, we did pin a message. So you should, no matter if you're on a desktop, a PC, phone, you should be able to copy and paste those. But if it turns out to be a bit too cumbersome, just tell us in words.
Yeah, just type it in words.
All right, so as an example here, we are just gonna keep the Chipotle train going. So Chipotle, we just decided to test it out. So if we had dropped Chipotle in this, exercise, I said that I would think of a burrito because obviously I associate Chipotle with burritos, but honestly, I have burrito bowls, so kind of weird.
I'm shocked there's not a burrito bowl emoji yet.
Honestly, Chipotle should sponsor that. I would use that emoji. Pants because of Chipotle goods, and also after you eat a burrito bowl and the chips, I kind of have to loosen my pants a little bit. And then tasty because I do, like I said, love Chipotle.
Yeah, so I picked an avocado because I love their guac. And actually, after Sonia was the one who actually told me about Chipotle goods, and I was like, and now I love the guac even more, that the avocado pits are doing something. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I also used a sick emoji because in college, I got sick. I got food poisoning a couple times from Chipotle. So it's I love it, but I hate it. I mean, it's interesting.
See, the food must be pretty good if you still love it. Two times you're out for me. Yeah. One time you're honestly kind of out.
This is a perfect example of what everyone's doing here. Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of fire emojis. It looks like it's just overall everyone loves it. Heart, fire.
Got the eyes. I love the eyes.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, we do have some throw up though. You know what? I respect it.
Yeah,
People do get sick.
I mean, yeah, no, I get it. Like, I get it. It's happened to me. There's a week that I'll swear it off, but the next week I'll be back on it. I mean, This is perfect. This is perfect.
Amazing. So we are just going to jump in now with our first brand that we teed up for you all, Nike. So we have a bunch of headlines, like we mentioned. We're trying to keep it current. We actually had to update this deck last night due to the Drake drop because that's Ummer's favorite artist of all time, and we need to include that headline. But
I mean, how can you not? It's a monumental video.
But let's see how folks are feeling about Nike. Some of the things that we highlighted here are the music video, but also Nike just released a line called Nike Offline, which is basically shoes, like slippers for the quarantine in ourselves. So you're lounging on the couch, now you get to wear your Nikes. We also see that Ariana Grande is wearing Nike. We see that they are launching Mamba Week for Kobe Bryant, and their stock is doing pretty well. I mean, the Dow jumped from it. So
yeah, I mean,
that's kind of the Nike
ton.
sentiment. Totally. How's everyone feeling here?
So
we're seeing a little bit of well, I think it's leaning towards good, but we're definitely seeing some people a little bit questioning. I'd love to learn a little bit more about the blue icy emoji. Is that cool or is that bad?
I was also a little bit shocked on what that meant.
It just made me feel a little old because I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah. I mean, there's some people like putting the downside, like in a lot of aspects, like it's okay. I mean, that's good to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we want to know what A to Z, what you're thinking. Fresh. All right.
Thank you, Jose. Everyone's defining it for us. And I appreciate that. Like that fit, it's cold. Okay, all right. I love it. Oh, it's cold.
Yeah. I mean,
I get it.
So, I mean, it's crazy. Like when we were in high school, when we were in middle school, I thought Nike was so fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they have stayed constant. Like they're constantly one of the brands that everyone says is super fresh. Like
totally.
I mean, that's pretty powerful.
It really does pay to have big marketing budgets. These are one of those things where, Nike, they were young, they rose to the top, and they're very clever with their dollars. I mean, the Drake music video is a great example of that.
Exactly, and you don't even think that they're spending money behind it, but they're spending tons of money behind the stuff.
Totally. All right, let's just move on to our next one.
All right, well, I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard this one in the news. You got TikTok. I mean, TikTok is great, it's bad, it's doing everything. Like in every angle, you're seeing all these things. They're doling out $1 billion of bonuses. They're having some trouble filtering their content. There's rumors that Twitter's buying it. I mean, there's rumors that Bill Gates is feeling a certain type of way, a poison chalice. Like, what is a poison chalice?
Yeah, so I looked into this one. So Bill Gates basically said, hey, given the climate, given how tech has evolved, Microsoft basically has to make this move. They need to put in a bid for acquiring TikTok. But Microsoft, historically speaking, has succeeded in enterprise. So bringing on a consumer app like TikTok, he thinks is actually going to be very difficult for them as a business to run. But it's a poison chalice. They have to take it, even if it might not be the best strategic move on their end.
Yeah, I mean, and they're spending so much money behind getting the videos even up, right? So I mean, it's so tough. I'm looking at these emojis. It's pretty split. I mean,
it's definitely split.
Shout out to Roby who said, "Oof." I mean, that is it's like you don't even know what to say about TikTok. Like sometimes, like you gotta go on it every night. Other times, it's like, why are they stealing all my data? Like they don't need it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely up there. I see a lot of silly emojis. That's actually my favorite one with the tongue slipping out, and I definitely get that feeling from TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok is definitely one of those that makes you think a little bit. And I mean, it's good to see that that's actually how most people are feeling about this. I think the headlines capture the good, the bad, the neutral, and that's what everyone's thinking.
Yeah. All right. We're transitioning over to another relatively in the news brand, the NBA. So sports.
It's a hot topic.
It's a hot topic. Sometimes we don't think of sports as a brand, but at the end of the day, they are there to make money.
They're a business.
Exactly.
Right?
They're a business. They're a brand. And so you can see that, the NBA bubble has been in the news quite a bit recently. And the biggest thing that is a point of contention is the athletes in the bubble have been getting tested frequently and have been getting their results very, very fast. As someone who I went and got tested within the last month, it took me about a week to get my results back. So it's kind of an interesting, difference between outside the bubble and inside the bubble.
And it's not just athletes, right? There's reporters, there's the medical staff. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of people who are getting tested multiple times a day, right? Like how is that possible?
Totally. It seems like for the most part, I'm kind of sensing some shock, but happiness, kind of a positive twist.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said about bringing sports back, right? As consumers, as we are, as viewers, it was refreshing to get that entertainment back.
Betting is back, right? Like people were not betting, and now there's so much betting going on.
Totally.
And it's great to see, like right here, like the collective opinion. I see a lot of stale faces, right? I would think that makes sense. Like it's like, okay, like you want to see it, but like, is it the best thing?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And also the notion of whole new game where they are allowing you to virtually attend. I mean, I personally thought that was pretty creative.
Yeah.
An interesting way to allow everyone to kind of feel like they're part of the game, even when they're afar. So from the tech side of things, I think that they've done a very interesting job.
Has anyone gotten on these virtual games? Like I've tried actually being a virtual fan and tried a couple of different ways. It's not worked, but I did see someone on TikTok who just emailed a bunch of teams and got on.
Yeah, I've seen on like my Instagram stories a couple of college friends making it, so there must be a way.
So I mean, I see some fire emojis coming back up 100. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, this is an example of like the collective opinion is frankly kind of split right now, right? Like it's like either people love it or people hate it.
Totally. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and move on now.
All right, so next one's Amazon. I mean, this one was pretty funny. When Sonia was looking at these headlines, she typed in Amazon, and you probably didn't see much. But you type in Bezos, and Bezos is Amazon, and there's a ton on Bezos. Like, what is this? Like, what is he doing? I mean, on one end, he's starting this fellowship venture fund that's combating climate change, and that's a $10 billion campaign. On the other end, he's adding $13 billion to his net worth. Is he adding another fund for impact every single day?
I mean, he should,
like,
right?
Why not?
And this is actually a great example of a type of company where the leadership is so closely tied to the brand. You have certain brands that maybe you don't immediately think of the leadership, and you might not even know their faces or their names. But Amazon, you look up Jeff Bezos and people have opinions. People care about how they're using how he's using his money and how his personal net worth is evolving, because it honestly is so deeply ingrained with the brand that you interact with.
Exactly, and you have to think about like, how is he treating his workers? All of his workers were protesting his apartment, and to basically say like, you're not giving us fair conditions. And I've seen all these downvotes in the chat. I mean, this is a perfect example where you have to look at a brand holistically.
Totally, and I'm seeing a lot of money, like a lot of money, which is so interesting because Amazon themselves is such a lucrative company and it's part of their brand. Everyone knows how much money they're making, and I think it's in part because Bezos is such a profile of wealth, and he's so closly tied.
Bezos is a brand himself. Like I see memes of Bezos all the time. Right? Totally. He is just there.
All right, okay, and then we're going to move on here to our final brand, Starbucks. I'm very curious to hear people's thoughts because when I was in high school, Starbucks was my go-to, and I'm not sure honestly if that's still the case.
Caramel fraps all day.
One thing that I thought was interesting in the headlines is pumpkin spice lattes are still a thing, and they seem to be still like pretty hot. Like, I mean, I'm excited.
I mean, I don't get the hype around pumpkin spice lattes. Like, I think they're good, but they're not amazing. Like, I'm not gonna just go and always get one.
Yeah, I was a Frappuccino person myself. A couple of other things that we're seeing here is that they're adapting. Coronavirus and the climate that has come with it has definitely been difficult for a lot of different coffee shops because, you know, I'm not sure how many folks here are coffee drinkers, but if you used to go every single day to Starbucks, but now you're working from home or you're studying from home or you're doing whatever from home, you might just make your own coffee cup. You're not stepping outside in the morning anyways. You might as well just keep your PJs on a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually what we ended up doing.
Totally.
We got pretty into making espresso shots and like lattes. So what's the point of going to Starbucks if I can make it here?
Totally. And I actually would be so curious. So I'm seeing, I think honestly, a little bit favoring slightly towards positive, but we definitely see a split of opinion again. And I'm wondering if it has to do with taste or if it has to do with brand perception, because with these food and beverage companies, they're so completely tied.
Yeah, and are they adapting fast enough? I mean, we're saying like 45% of consumers are less likely to order from Starbucks because of their initial Black Lives Matter policy, right? Totally. And I mean, that is a perfect example where consumers are coming together to really try to change what Starbucks had a policy initially.
Totally, yeah. Okay, well, thank you all so much. That was amazing. I love how interactive it was. That was the last of our, initial brands that we wanted just to get the chat going. But throughout the rest of this, if you have questions, if you are excited about something, if you, I don't know something on the topic that you want to share, please jump in the chat. This is supposed to be a fully open and collaborative environment. So why did we just make you all drop emojis for the last 20 minutes or so? Well, individually, right, you have an opinion. You go to Starbucks and you're like, I don't like this Frappuccino. Or you want to order from Amazon, but then you realize that the shipping is actually really detrimental to the planet. So you opt for going and shopping at a brick and mortar location, even though it means you have to put on some shoes. Well, as an individual, that's just your opinion. But together, we actually affect a brand's direction. And we want to kind of dive into that deeper and talk about, as the world evolves, and especially given the current climate, how we can bring our individual thoughts together effectively and urge brands to go in the right direction.
Exactly. So that brings us to the bottom line. So what is the bottom line? The bottom line is a brand or a company's net income. It's the last line on their income statement. But what does that even mean? Basically, this is a number that dictates how a big company, if they're doing well or if they're not. This is a number that they're shouting to their investors off their rooftops. So a perfect example of this, and to tie it back to how you all feel about brands, is Forever 21. Forever 21 wasn't adapting to their consumers' needs and their focus on environmentally conscious clothes, and they went bankrupt. I mean, this is an example where consumers holistically didn't like what Forever 21 was doing, and this affected their bottom line, and they went bankrupt. These retailers are going to recognize this, and the faster ones to recognize this, especially during this time of COVID-19, Black Lives Matter, everything going on, they need to adapt and they need to listen to demands.
Yeah, and you know what the interesting thing about Forever 21 is when I was in high school, I 100% shopped at Forever 21. And it's not that my values were necessarily different when I was, 18 years old. It's that I wasn't aware of the underlying effects of Forever 21, of how their supply chain was constructed, and honestly, how their supply chain could be better. We're seeing an emergence of brands like Everlane. So now you look at Forever 21 and you're like, why aren't they more like Everlane, right? Yeah. And how did I learn about that? How did you learn about that? It's because today's voices are so much louder than they were before.
And the real question is, all right, we all had these opinions in high school, but what made these opinions really get or force this change for Forever 21, right? Like Sonia probably thought this, I thought this, but how did everyone collectively voice their opinions?
Exactly. And so that kind of just comes back down to the power of your voice. And so we threw up a bunch of icons here. This is honestly a subset of probably how every single person here interacts on the day-to-day. I did not use half of these, if not like less, when I was in high school. I know Umar believes that he's an early adopter, so he loves talking about how he was on Snapchat and Twitter way before I was. But personally, I was using Facebook and I was using Instagram at the end of high school.
And the fact of the matter is that, we were on Instagram, you saw our post, we got 17 to 20 likes on the photo. Like, people just weren't looking at it, or they didn't care that much.
Right, and it wasn't necessarily a platform about disseminating knowledge, right? It was a platform where we were still learning about filters. We were excited about the genuine tech and the touch and feel, that it wasn't second nature. It wasn't, hey, I'm going to post this really exciting article I read about today because I'm actually just really excited about the Jefe filter or the Valencia filter, right? That was a new, novel idea. And for you, you've been raised around this technology. So for you, it's a very natural medium to actually talk to your friends and learn about new things.
And I think, Sydney, what you just said hits the hammer with the nail perfectly. Consumers forget how powerful their voice are, and all these platforms are giving consumers a ability to just shout from the rooftops what their voice is.
Exactly. And when you have one opinion, you might have X followers, or you might not, but you might have one follower that has X followers, right? And so you just talk to one person and you no longer have to pick up the phone or text them. You actually can just very generally tell a lot of people at once, and that's a really, really beautiful thing.
Yeah. So what does all this together, you have a voice, what does that mean, right? And that's where purchasing power comes into play. So what is purchasing power, right? That's your ability where you have maybe some purchasing power, your friend has another, but holistically, you all have the ability to buy and influence these products and services.
Right, and we wanted to highlight the term purchasing power in particular because this is the definition, right? It's pretty much saying how much money you have in your pocket and how it translates to how much you can buy. But we liked that it said power in it because it is power.
Yeah.
The fact that you have $5, there are brands, every single brand out there wants your $5. That's just undeniable.
Exactly. And it's not just about disposable income, but it's about your power of choice, right? You can pick the Everlanes over the Forever 21s, right? It doesn't matter how much more money you have, but if you're going to go buy something, buy it from someone that you align your values with.
Exactly. And so, we wanted to kind of dial it down to numbers for you all. So technically you all are, or not, maybe not everyone here, but we kind of pulled out numbers for Gen Z. Gen Z, it's a little bit of a gray area, but most people define it as anyone born after 1996. We are millennials. We used to be the target demographic brands were obsessed with. We are no longer the demographic of choice.
I mean, I would like to say I'm pretty close to the Gen Z. I was born in 95 and look, the cutoff is 96.
But listen to this. Gen Z is a coveted demographic.
I want to be in Gen Z.
We were close. But this is what the interesting part is, right? Sometimes you think back and you're like, okay, honestly, I work a part-time job because I'm in school, or maybe I have a summertime gig, or whatever your means of generating a personal income is. It might not feel super substantial as an individual, but we wanted to bring together some stats. So Gen Z together in just the United States has $150 billion of purchasing power. And that's not even including the income that you influence, your parents' income, your friends' parents' income. It's just talking about the income in your all pockets.
And this is while most people are in high school or in college, or like you're still studying and you have this much power, 150 billion. I mean, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things, right? We're throwing around 150 billion, but like, what does that mean?
Right. It's actually, so Gen Z worldwide, we're kind of taking it away from just the United States because this isn't a phenomenon constrained by borders. 40% of consumers worldwide right now are Gen Z. And these numbers are anticipated to rise and grow, like Omar mentioned, as your careers evolve, as your life trajectory, goes ahead. You are expected to only get stronger.
And right, so what does purchasing power really matter? And right now we're in 2020. What can we do? We're all constantly talking about how 2020 sucks, right? Like, let's stop tweeting that 2020 sucks and waiting for things. What can we do today?
Right, exactly. And we keep talking. We're telling you have dollars, you have powerful dollars. And if you had to take away one thing, it's basically when you put $1 down, you're making a decision. And, the obvious decision is I'm buying this product. But the less obvious decision is I'm supporting the philosophy, the leadership, the actual minds behind this product. And it's a hard thing to remember, but it's getting easier as your voices get louder.
And your voices, this is just the beginning. I mean, this $150 billion market, 40%, that's only going to get bigger. And so is your purchasing power. And so is your voice, right? You're going to get more people to influence over time.
Exactly. So we're going to change gears a little bit and talk about, like Amr said, 2020. So we are talking about how powerful brands are today and how you have so much influence, right, with these brands because of your purchasing power. One thing that we want to talk about is how social impact is so important. It's been shown, right? It's so important to you and to us. But right now, a lot of these bigger brands that are more established have social impact ingrained as a nice to have and not a need to have. So what that looks like in practice is 2020, we've seen an economic downturn. And what you would expect is for funding to nonprofits coming from businesses to go down, but to go down in a correlated manner. Their profits are going down, their funding goes down slightly. But what's really happening is, hey, philanthropy is a big fat check that I write every so often. That is a nice to have. So I'm just not going to do that. And so we're seeing nonprofits really, really struggle in this climate, disproportionate to how the economy is struggling. And so this is an example of, there was a report done and they expect 40% of nonprofits in the States are being threatened right now with closing, completely closing down. And they anticipate a solid percent of that will actually end up closing. And like we mentioned, how can we make it so that in times like this, businesses don't have the ability to just turn that off? It's actually part of their intrinsic business model to keep that going.
Right, like this shouldn't be a nice to have expense. And it's like you see 20 companies doing well during COVID-19 and during everything that's going on, right? Just because they write a big check doesn't mean majority of businesses that you're shopping at are also have the ability to write these checks. They might have been writing checks once a year or once a quarter last year, but now the matter is they're going to cut that where they do not have the money to spend on it. So we need to force them to spend the money on the right things.
Exactly. And I was reading something. So Water is a nonprofit that maybe some of you have heard of. They're very, very savvy on social media. They have a lot of integrated ties with businesses. And their CEO came out and said, hey, this isn't really acceptable. Honestly, we have seen such tremendous support in years past because the economy is doing so well. But in times of pain, in times of economic downturns, nonprofits need it, if not more. And so it's not, consistency is key. Like it says, we need to help these nonprofits stay stable through downturns more than ever.
I mean, Jamari, you're completely right. We're all in this together, right?
Totally.
The more way that we collectively use our voice in a cohesive way, you can affect the change. And that actually leads us to our next point, where you've all heard this. The customer is always right? You hear that in restaurants, you hear this everywhere, but what can we do if they all think that the customer is always right? What can we do? Well, this goes back to the fact where, all right, you look at a brand, you go and do the research on, okay, are they just using organic cotton, or are they actually also treating their workers right? Are they using the copper-lined recycling product that people have mentioned, the seaweed, all of this stuff? Customers should look at brands to be the forefront of impact, right? It should not be vice versa. And all these brands are bottom line focused.
Exactly.
So if you cut out this shopping at these brands if you stop shopping at Forever 21, right, they're gonna go bankrupt. They don't have a choice but to adapt to needs. So that's what brands are gonna do. They're gonna adapt to what you all are saying about what you ask from them. And that's asking them to be socially conscious. That's doing your homework on what brands are doing this. And not only that, but once you make the change, go and tell your friends about it, right?
Exactly.
Go and post on Instagram about, hey, this brand is pretty cool. They're socially aligned in XYZ ways. And this is why I did that. Honestly, that's probably going to save your friends the time to do the research.
Yeah, no, totally. And, that kind of comes back to me in high school. I didn't know what Forever 21 was doing under the hood. And I probably found that out through social media because I don't remember making a cognizant effort. That information was just naturally disseminated within my online circle. And I think what's a really cool point is that brands, when they have to pivot or when they, like Forever 21 goes bankrupt, the rest of the industry notices. Like we said, brands are bottom line focused and they are the most in tune with their competitors. So they see a competitor go up, they see a competitor go down, and they're thinking constantly, okay, how can I be more or less like them?
Exactly. And using your voices, right, as Gen Z population, you have all these mediums that we talked about, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, well, maybe not LinkedIn, but Instagram, all these ways. The more you use your voice, the more likely they are to change. I mean, Catherine just said it's important to support local businesses. I mean, local businesses are the ones that prop up the neighborhood. So yeah, go and tell your friends that, hey, support the local businesses. But at the same time, when you look at a large retailer, do your homework and educate your following.
Exactly. And, small businesses are so near and dear to our hearts. And part of the reason is because you know the people behind it. You know that it's coming from your neighborhood, your greater community, and you want to support that team. And that sentiment right there should always translate at every scale. You should never feel like you're supporting someone's product, but you aren't comfortable with the faces behind that product.
Exactly.
So, we've gone through, I guess, various sentiments here, but we mentioned in the beginning that we are co-founders of this company called Change. We want to just give you a quick overview about what we've been working on. A lot of what we have built stems from the sentiment, from the intrinsic consumer desire that we want to help propagate. And so we'll just give you a quick overview, but then we'll open it up to Q&A, and you can ask us more about our company if you want, but we really do want this to be, if anything, a takeaway for you all as the rising generation to understand how powerful your voice is and how you can take that forward in a very, very tangible way.
Exactly. I mean, these are all things that you can do today, and you can tell your friends to also do them. And I mean, just talking about why we started Change and everything, I mean, this was a trend that we identified. We noticed that people had opinions on brands, and frankly, how can we make it easier for brands to, one, show you that, hey, they're socially responsible, but on the other side, how can you find the brands that actually are socially responsible, right? Like, what's the easiest way to marry the two together?
Totally. And I want to call out that Colin has a really good point here in the chat where it is easy, right, to sit here and say, hey, everyone take out your wallets, and every single time you put that dollar bill down, make sure you're proud of every single, person that is behind that dollar bill. But, when you come from low income backgrounds, when maybe you aren't in a highly populated area where you can access a bunch of different retailers of any type of caliber, it's difficult. That's a big ask. And so that's why it falls in the community, right? We need to prop up if you have disposable income or if you have a voice, which everyone has a voice, you need to use that powerfully. Help out the whole country, help out the whole world when you can, and it will then evolve together. So if we have people that force the brands and say, hey, honestly, I used to spend a lot here, I'm not going to anymore.
Exactly.
Then we'll see them adapt. And even if it is bigger scale for, it's attracting a bunch of different consumers and not everyone can do that, some can. And that's really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And if you learn something new, and even if you can't be the one to deflect and be like, honestly, this is something that I can't sacrifice right now, you can still talk about it. And someone else might be able to actually change where their dollar goes.
Exactly. Or right here, you have the ability to tell your parents, to tell your friends. Like, you may not need to buy from Everlane, but hey, like, now you know that they are socially conscious. So maybe you'll talk about that with your friends and they might end up buying it. But in reality, the power is your purchasing power and your voice. Those two together is really unstoppable for brands. I mean,
Totally.
That is what they are constantly looking at. They hire all these people to go through all these social media to understand their customer. Well, you are their customer. So make sure your demands are heard.
Exactly. So I guess running it back real quick. So change, what this is basically a way for any brand to be socially conscious, for any brand to not have an excuse anymore to not step up. And so what we basically do is we partner with different retailers and we say, hey, if a consumer chooses you, you should give them the choice on how they want to make an impact. So every time you shop at one of our retailers, you get small amounts of money to donate to a nonprofit of your choice. And it grows as you purchase. You don't have to spend it right away. You can shop at one retailer and get a shirt. You can shop at another retailer and get a mask. You can go buy some cookies over here. And then over time, you now have $10 to donate to a nonprofit of your choice. And the idea here, like Elmer said, is just you have the power. And so if you encourage this behavior, corporate will step up.
Exactly. And our whole goal is to make this pretty easy, right? A lot of people don't have a ton of time, which you should do the research, but don't have a ton of time to do the research on nonprofits. So we try to surface these resonant nonprofits that the dollar goes a really long way. So when you get a couple of dollars of donation rewards from XYZ retailer, then you can really figure out, hey, this $1 that I'm giving that the retailer allowed me to give is really going a long way. And that's even going to just promote you to go and tell your friends about that.
Yeah, totally. And we have this completely baked into social media where you can share about nonprofits doing good work. You can learn. We want it to be very education oriented. And you can share about brands that are making an impact. And the other thing that we think is really, important is that it's small amounts and it's continuous. Because like we mentioned, right now it's kind of a step function. It's when the economy is going down, funding is completely cut. When the economy is doing well, funding is splurged. And that actually doesn't really work with a nonprofit in achieving their core mission. They need something very consistent. And so our idea here is consistent embedded actions. We're not overstretching one way and we're not over minimizing in another.
Exactly. Like, this should be a passive way where you continuously get to make an impact and you get to choose where the impact is, right? Like, today there's one cause, tomorrow there's another cause. Maybe you want to diversify your causes. If the brand allows you to do that, then you're going to feel like it's even more of your power. The purchasing power is really in your hands, and that's what we're trying to give. We want to give consumers the ability to choose the retailers in an effective way and choose the causes in just as easy of an effective way.
Exactly. Great. Well, I think we just kind of dove right into that. That kind of wraps us up for what we had planned to talk about. We want to just call out that you can download our mobile app right now. It's in the App Store and it should be on Android pretty soon.
Pretty soon.
We have an Instagram. You can give us a follow. Feel free to DM us, especially if you want to talk a little bit more about anything. If you want to teach us something, like we said, we are here to learn just as much as you are. And so we love the opinions that are coming in here. We completely agree that a lot of what we have said is idealized. And we are hoping that you are able to pull out what you feel as an individual you can do. We don't expect any given person to be like, hey, I'm going to change everything about how I buy today.
Yeah,
it's just about knowledge sharing and learning. Hey, if you're making that decision, you understand, the why, the constant, the side effects are aware.
Exactly. And honestly, when we were just going through this and figuring out how we want to do it, it was Gen Z that really inspired us.
Totally.
Like, this is the generation that uses their voices, and this is who we want to build something for. So, I mean, as Sonia said, if you have other cool brands you like, if you want to talk about something a brand is doing or something that a brand isn't doing, let us know. I mean, that's honestly the best way that we learn about what's going on, by talking to all of you.
Exactly.
So, slide into our DMs and say, hey, like, this brand sucks. Like, let us know. Like, why do you think it sucks?
Totally.
But at the same time, like, find a brand that maybe has a similar product. It's like, this brand is doing this copper line with a seaweed packaging. I had no idea about seaweed packaging. That is still blowing my mind.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah. One of the questions is what our Instagram handle is. It's right here below the IG icon. It's at GetChange. And also, I just want to say, if you have brands that you want to see on the platform. We are young. We only launched a month ago. So we're working with small, more local businesses. But if you have bigger brands and you're like, hey, I like this brand, but I know it's not keeping up and I want to force change, let us know. Those are the types of brands that we want to start conversations with, and we want to get them on our platform because they do have the means. They just need to see there's a benefit and a demand for it.
Exactly. So we got a couple questions. I'm just going to start tossing them off. Someone asked, what's our Instagram handle? It's at GetChange. It's one word. The next question is, Vanessa, what inspired you to start Change? I mean, honestly, the biggest thing that inspired us was we want to make it easy to do good. And honestly, doing good in the right way, right? You hear all about some company doing good in God knows what way, but we want to make it easy to do it in a very tangible and right way.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. One person just asked that they live in a smaller town. So all of our partner businesses you can see in the app and you can see on our website, and they're all e-commerce. We do want to make sure that we are not constrained by geography because we don't believe impact is. So 100% you will see those online and you can have them be shipped. We are once again working on expanding this as much as possible.
Yep. And then, so could you send a link to your Change website? Our website is getchange.io. So just our Instagram handle .io. How can we contact you if you have more questions later on in the day? Honestly, like on our website, we have an email address. Feel free to hit up the email address. Hit us up on Instagram. We love to talk to you. So please, hit us up with questions. Tell us what you find interesting. We honestly want to hear it.
Oh, totally. The app, you can even text us. We want to be as accessible as possible.
Yeah, and then so another question is, which specific retailers do you partner up with? So we launched this mobile app probably a little bit over a month ago. Mm-hmm. We started with 10 retailers. I would say they're small to mid-sized retailers. An example is Azalea. It's a boutique clothing company. One of the mass companies that Sonia mentioned is Eurocade. If you download the mobile app, you can see all of the brands that we partner with. They're on our website. You don't need to buy through the app. You can just buy directly from the retailer and you'll get the donation rewards.
Exactly.
Are you familiar with B corporations? And if so, what do you think of that? That's a really good question.
That's a great question. Yes, we are familiar with B corporations. Do you want to define B Corp for everyone?
Yeah, so B Corp is actually another nonprofit which gives the brands that they are what I would call like a triple bottom line focus.
Yes.
So that's not only profitability, but that mentions also like, are they doing good with the workers? And is a certificate. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think B Corp is great. I mean, there's a lot of great companies out there who are B Corp certified. Mm-hmm. We think it's great. But one of the benefits that we want to promote with Change is giving the consumer the right to pick where the impact is going. So there's a lot of brands where maybe with X% of purchase, they're also funding trees in another country, or maybe they're trying to solve some like conservatory problem. Like there's there's a lot of good that is being done, and kudos to those brands, but that is not the majority of the brands. And over time, we think the power should lie with the consumer, right? It's your dollar. You should get to pick where the impact is going.
Exactly. And I think that actually B Corp is a great example of how brands stepped up because they saw other brands doing it. So B Corporation did an amazing job of making their certification desirable. And so you see a brand and you're like, oh, it's B Corp certified. As a consumer, once you know what that is, you're like, oh, that's amazing. I feel comfortable shopping with this brand. Now you see other brands, other competitors, and they're like, oh, we should get that certification too. It seems like it's doing really well over there. And so it's groupthink, right? Brands are constantly chasing other brands' leads, and that's exactly what we need to bring to the space.
Exactly. Another question is, well, first of all, thanks, Ravi, for dropping the website link in. Really appreciate that. Sydney, how do you find nonprofits? So we actually initially, we've been full-time on Change for about 6 months now, and even prior to that, we were just hitting up as many people as we could to understand, all right, what segments of causes do you like, right? So that's like environments, animals. I mean, at the same time, we had a crisis category with COVID-19, the public servants, all these different buckets is what we came up with. Mm-hmm. And then we did our own research. We talked to our advisors, we talked to different experts in the nonprofit space to really see, all right, what are the most impactful nonprofits, or some of them, where that dollar really means a lot to them,
exactly.
Right? Odds are they're a little bit small team. They don't really have the ways to spread that awareness to all their following. So that's what we just did our homework to find that. If you have a nonprofit that you recommend that we're not partnered with, let us know. I mean, exactly. We want to add more nonprofits. We want to get the resonant and the impactful nonprofits.
Totally. And I mean, to your point, right, we chose those buckets. We chose segments that we thought that Gen Z and millennials were most excited about, but we didn't just come up with that. We looked at reports, we took the data behind it, we surveyed our friends. We tried to make this as much of a collective decision as we possibly could. And we then went out there and we tried to find the most exciting nonprofits that $5 makes a difference. And so you'll see actually in our app, we tried to lay it out, like everything out on the ground. So you can see that you'll learn about the team, you'll learn about the numbers, you'll learn about how $1 translates to X. And it's a really, really informative process that you can also share out to your socials. So even if you can't donate in this time, that's okay, right? Yeah. Like no one's expecting that, but you can learn, you can share, and someone else might be able to donate $1 at this time.
Exactly. Next question, Juliana, do you have any merch? Honestly, this is a very popular question we get.
It is a popular question.
Yeah. If you have any ideas for cool merch, please let us know because we're actively brainstorming merch. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any merch.
Yeah, we're pretty young, so we're trying to focus on some other things, but we do want merch. Some people keep asking for masks. I'm trying to think if there's anything else because I have a lot of masks right now.
Yeah, I've got a ton of masks from some companies. I mean, I think we'll come up with something. But yeah, honestly, we want to get our merch. It's one of my top priorities, but hopefully it'll happen soon.
Are you familiar with the backgrounds of your retailers, such as what they stand for? 100%. So right now, especially because we're so young, we think that getting to know every single person we bring on our platform is of utmost importance. And so we talk to both the nonprofit teams and the retailer teams extensively, and we talk to as many people as we possibly can, especially the founding voices. And we understand their mission, we understand why they want change, we understand what other initiatives they're doing, and we want to make sure that every part of them as a retailer aligns with us as a company ourselves, right? And so we do look for brand alignment to the T. And
and then another question, Danielle, what retailers would you like to work with in the future? Our goal, as you said, is to make giving passive for everyone, right? So what does that mean? We want you go buy something from Target, or you go buy something from some athleisure. We want you to be able to get the change credit everywhere you are. You get 50 cents here, you get another $1 over there. That $1.50 over time, it's going to add up. And that is what we want to incorporate into all of our app users' lifestyles.
Exactly. The way that today works is so dynamic. We're so efficient. We're online, we're offline, and we want to make it so as your lifestyle evolves to be so dynamic, so does your giving. It's no longer, hey, I'm going to volunteer 1 hour with my family, once a month, which is something like I did growing up. It's instead, I'm going to do that. And by the way, I'm cognizant of where my dollars are going, and I get to make a statement every time I take out my wallet, which I think is a really exciting thing to realize.
And you get to pick, right? XYZ company gives you a couple bucks. Ultimately, that's your impact, right? So they can't mess up where that impact is going. They can't just give it to some random nonprofit who's doing whatever they want, right? You're going to give it to a nonprofit because it's your money.
Totally. That is actually something, just a side note, one big learning for us as we dove into the nonprofit space is that it's actually very, very complicated. There's a lot of checks you need to do to make sure that there isn't some side motive behind the nonprofit, to make sure that they are actually achieving the results that they're posting. So we try to do all that diligence up front, and we also make use of existing systems to do that, so that those $5, if we say it's going somewhere, it is going that place.
Yeah. Isha, you had a question. Will you guys have more gatherings like this later on? If so, I would love to be a part of it. So honestly, follow us on Instagram. We go Instagram live time to time. That's honestly our best way to learn what our users are asking for, but also just explain like, hey, what we've been up to.
Totally.
We want to be pretty transparent about what we're doing. So yeah, like feel free to ask us questions, but the biggest platform where we do this is Instagram Live.
Yep, most definitely. How do you think that this will affect the future? Well, we are doing this because we want to see brands step up in the future. Especially in 2020, I think we're seeing brands talk the talk, right? We see brands posting on Instagram or maybe changing their homepage on their website. We want to see them walk the walk. And I think a lot of folks are demanding it, and we are trying to make this a platform so that if this demand exists, retailers don't have an excuse.
Exactly. Because it's your money, right? You're the one who gets to pick where the money goes. And that actually kind of segues to Juliana's question. So does any purchase we make anywhere go towards obtaining credits through the app? So right now we have about 10 partner retailers in the mobile app that you will see. So if you shop at any of these brands right now, you will get a promo code in your confirmation email, and you just type that promo code in and you'll get the donation rewards. Let's see.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad most folks loved it. I see there's a question about my t-shirt. I honestly can't remember. What does this say?
The Players Tribune.
So part of this shirt actually did donate proceeds to the Players Tribune of the WNBA when they were fighting for wage equality. I will have to look at the tag, honestly, to tell you what the website was where I got it. But hopefully you can look up Bet on Women and WNBA and it would surface.
Yeah. We had a question that I think we skipped. Raven, have you contacted any monopolies? That's actually, we haven't contacted any monopolies, but something that we've actually really tried to push on is getting into networks where there might already be an existing like rewards network. So you're getting miles, or maybe it's like there's something in Chicago called Let Us Entertain, where you shop at any of these restaurants and you're getting points. So our goal is basically to get embedded in all of these different systems so you can keep getting those donation rewards in as many places as possible. Once again, we launched this about 6 weeks ago, so we're actively trying to get in touch with more brands. We want to give our users, give all the Change community different ways to get donation rewards, whether that's through a workout class, whether that's through streaming something on Twitch when someone's playing Fortnite. Anyway, that's what we're trying to do.
Totally. Thank you, Robbie, for dropping the link to the shirt. That is 100% where I got it.
Yeah, he's pretty quick with the links.
Definitely. Danielle, so if we are planning on making merch, would it be on the app? Yes, we would definitely embed it in the Change network as much as we possibly could, and you would most definitely get donation credit.
Yeah,
we promise.
And just a quick tidbit for everyone who's downloading the app. If you look at the app description, there's a little code for donation rewards. It's Sleeker promos. So type that in, you'll get a few bucks to donate.
Exactly.
And you can honestly check out the app, look through the nonprofits, see the homework. All the information that we show on these nonprofits is actually all publicly available information, and we just synthesize it. And we really work closely with our nonprofits where we can explain their story in a easy and concise way, right?
Exactly.
They don't have they're focusing on way more important things. They don't have a ton of time to do this, but we want to show like, hey, like this is what $1 will do. This is an example of a successful campaign that they ran.
Exactly. And if you have feedback on, hey, I wish I knew this about this nonprofit, or it was a little hard for me to understand what this meant, we love to hear everything. So please, Instagram, DM us, email us, text us through the app, whatever is easiest for you.
Do we have a YouTube? We actually don't have a YouTube.
No.
But actually, do a lot of people still like go live on YouTube? Or honestly, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm honestly not sure, but we don't have a YouTube.
Yeah, we'll definitely think about that.
Nicholas had a question about, as someone looking to start an online business, what advice do you have? I think that focusing on your core product as much as possible and trying to make all of the things that need to just prop it up as easy as possible. So if that means hooking up a Shopify within 30 minutes just to get something live, starting up an Instagram account to just start getting the word out, go for it. Just move quickly and just try to get what you are really, really excited about live first, because your customers will come to you when they see it. Your customers will tell you what they want, and they will tell you if they want something different. So try to just get that out as quickly as possible, and don't get bogged down in all the details. It won't be perfect the first time, and that's okay.
Everyone's going to give you feedback, but honestly, feedback is the biggest gift. That's how you're going to figure out, is something working, and is there a fit for it?
Exactly.
So just try the fastest way possible to get the fit. And also, one other thing, figure out what your mission is, right? We've this entire time talked about what a company's mission is and how you should align yourself if you're going to be part of that company's community. So figure out what you want and put that on your website. Like figure out what you're passionate about.
And DM us and set up some change, because we can reward your customers with donation credit. Do retailers pay a fee to be a part of your app? That's a great question. So right now they do not. We are young. We are trying to get this out as much as possible. So they are covering the donation rewards, and they are working with us very, very closely to give us feedback. They're basically paying us in being partners with us and teaching us along the way. So that's kind of how we have opted out of the pricing for now. But we will be charging retailers in the future a platform fee. It would not come out of the donations. It would actually come out of just the platform, lack of a better word, fees, right? Keeping up the platform.
And just to be very transparent, we don't charge the nonprofits any money.
Nothing.
If you also go onto our platform, you can donate to the nonprofits directly. You don't only need to get donation rewards. And we don't charge any money on donations. The only other fee that's added is a credit card fee that our payment processing company Stripe adds on, which we're looking to get down over time. But yeah, each dollar that you donate, either a reward or your personal money, goes straight to the nonprofit. We're very transparent about that.
Most definitely.
How hard was it to set up your app? Well, Sonia is our lead developer here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so for any of our software engineers in the room, our app is React Native, so it was easier, right? We were able to fire it up pretty quickly. We honestly had the core app ready in just a couple weeks, but then we were constantly iterating. We put it out as a beta with a lot of our friends. We were getting feedback. So we honestly got it out within, I don't know, maybe a 2 months time. But the most time-consuming part of it was working with Apple and making sure we were abiding by all their rules, making sure we have Apple Pay, and just crossing the T's on the legalities and actually not the tech work.
Yeah. And then also one of the other benefits of React Native is switching over to Android is actually not that bad.
Not at all.
That's what we're working on right now. We're trying to get our Android up and going. So that's going to be a whole other set of rules from Google we'll have to figure out.
Yeah. We also appreciate all of the really kind messages coming through the chat. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah,
and so just a heads up, what's the name of the app? The name of the app is Change Modern Giving. But if you search GetChange in the App Store, the app will surface. If you scan that barcode that's listed right here on the slide, the link for the app will pop up.
What other vision do you have to implement to your app? So one of the things that we think would allow this to scale is right now it is a mobile app, and you as a user kind of go through our mobile app to learn about what brands are out there, but we want this to scale. We want you to be able to go to the brands that you go to, and now it's a positive twist to it. And so we are trying to scale this with a more, API forward approach so that the brands can just kind of create their own custom campaigns. They can reach out to us when they're ready. They can exactly, incentivize one product or incentivize something for a month. We want this to be just a tool in their toolbox.
Exactly. Like, this is a place where you can just go in every now and then, see all your change credit add up, figure out some nonprofits you like and give it.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, that's our goal. At the same time, like right now, as Sonia mentioned, this is our first iteration of our app. We want to make it very easy where all of your tax donations are in one spot. All the impact you've done is all in one spot. So these are all things we want to add over time.
Exactly. Will it have different languages? So right now it is English only, but that is accessibility is on the forefront of our mind. Yeah. I think it's impossible to be in this space and not constantly think about that. So honestly, we are trying to scale the network of our system first, but we are also thinking about how we can technologically innovate. So eventually there will be different languages and hopefully we make it more and more savvy, but for right now it's English only.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we've constantly talked about and we want to get that up. We really do.
Definitely.
Well, we need to make a profile for this app and how much personal information will this app need. So, I mean, the only thing right now that you have to give is an email address, honestly, just so we can send you your receipt if you donate.
And if you sign in with Apple, you can hide your email address. So that's what we get. We get whatever you're willing to give us.
Yeah, I mean, one of our biggest things is privacy. And
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we look for in an app. So that's what we're going to give to our users.
Exactly. Great. Well, I think we are just reaching time.
Yeah.
It was amazing talking to you all. Thank you for participating. That made this so much better. And we're so excited to talk to you. Once again, every action, every thought that you have is important and it's powerful. So just be cognizant of that. And we're so excited to see what you all end up doing.
Yeah. And once again, feel free to reach out, email us, DM us, do anything. We want to hear from you. And honestly, this was a great participation from everyone. So thank you so much.
Yes.
This is awesome. I learned a ton. I need to go check out what seaweed is.
Yeah, me too. I know. I hope this chat history saves. I'm just scroll back up and kind of learn a little bit more. Great. All right.
Then, real quick, sorry. Jamar, the email is hello@getchange.io. You can email that and we'll respond. Also, if you download the mobile app, there's a number you can text. Feel free to text that number too. There's a lot of different ways. Well, sounds good, everyone.
All right.